and to commemorate the Anti-Sanctions Day, which was adopted by the SADC region member states to support Zimbabwe in its drive to lift the illegal sanctions which was imposed in Zimbabwe for more than 2 decades. Zimbabwe was put under sanctions more than 2 decades ago, as we all know. And those sanctions were imposed on Zimbabwe illegal. It's against the international law, against the international humanitarian law. It is inhuman, and it should be opposed and it should be lifted. We in the state of Palestine, as we are representing our country in this country, and a long-time friend of Zimbabwe, through its struggle, and today and tomorrow, and the support which we get from our friends and comrades here in Zimbabwe, we are against these illegal sanctions, inhuman sanctions, and we are going to do whatever we can to support our friends for the lifting of these sanctions. It is illegal, it is inhuman, it's against international law. I would like also to say that the same countries, the same colonial powers who imposed sanctions in Zimbabwe are the same countries who are now engaged in supporting the Israeli apartheid colonial regime in Palestine to commit genocide against our people in Gaza. It is going on since 17 days ago. They are killing children, they are killing women, they are bombarding churches, hospitals, cutting food, electricity, water, all the resources of life from our people. That is collective punishment. That is war crime. As they are committing war crimes in Palestine, they are committing collective punishment to the Zimbabwean people by imposing these sanctions. We are calling for the lifting of the sanctions immediately, and immediately stopping the killing of the people of Palestine in a very indiscriminate, genocidal crime against our people, against humanity in our modern times. How that could be allowed by those who claim to be the patrons of democracy, human rights, and freedom. That is illegal and against the international law and against the humanitarian law. The colonial Western powers have morally fallen down in their support for these criminal actions to take place in Palestine, in Zimbabwe, and everywhere in the world. When their interests is at stake, they forget about all these values. They trample on the international law, and they trample on the humanity, the humanitarian values which we all believe in. They don't consider us as people. They consider us as slaves for their interests. And when we raise our voices our heads to ask for our rights, we will see them. They will show us their ugly face. We will never believe that these guys are the patrons of democracy or international human rights or any of these values which they are trying to teach us. But they cannot teach us these values. We are the ones. We are the cradle of history. We are the cradle of civilization. We are the cradle of these values, and we are the ones who must teach them these values. They must listen to us. When we take our destiny and our future in our hands, they get angry. And because they feel that they are threatened, their interests are threatened. Never believe that these colonial countries, they want good for our societies and countries. They are only interested in their interests. When their interests are at stake, they will do whatever they could, regardless of international or human rights laws, to get to their interests. I repeat our support to our people, our comrades here in Zimbabwe, against these illegal sanctions and call for its removal immediately, and also to stop the carnage that is taking place against our people in Gaza and in Palestine, which is taking place nowadays indiscriminately at the hands of the apartheid Israeli colonial power. Long live Palestine, long live Zimbabwe, long live the friendship between the two people and the two countries. Thank you very much.
Another friendly country, Zimbabwe, the Cuban embassy, they support sanctions against Zimbabwe. Sanctions are a form of warfare, just as the Palestinians are being killed by the Israelites. Zimbabweans are being killed by these sanctions as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes. President of Zimbabwe Anti-Sanction Trust, Dr. Norbert Hoshem, members of the executive of SAST, colleagues from Diplomatic Corps, all protocols observed. Allow me to express our gratitude for the invitation to attend this SAST, the SAST 2023 Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations. This October 25 is a very significant date, not only for Zimbabwe and Cuba, but also for the all countries in the world that have been subject to illegal imperial sanctions and continue to fight for their independence, sovereignty, and they develop their societies without imperial interference. Illegal sanctions against countries violate international law. Sanctions do exist. They do harm societies. They do seek to take over our land and resources, whether human or natural. They do are forms of pressure, threats, and blackmail to try to bend us. Only as united people we can overcome sanctions together, because there is strength in unity. Empires try to divide us. They know that by fragmenting societies, they manage to weaken the masses. We cannot give in the imperial expansionist interests. Cuba once again raises its voice against the illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe, and that they be lifted without any condition. Zimbabwe, sister nation, Cuba is with you against the illegal sanctions. Cuba knows very well the adverse effects of sanctions. Cuba has been subject to a criminal, economic, commercial, and financial blockade by the United States of America for more than 60 years. Every year since 1992, Cuba has presented to the United Nations General Assembly a draft resolution titled Need to End the Economic, Commercial, and Financial Blockade Imposed by United States of America against Cuba. The vast majority of countries in the world support Cuba and request its lifting without any type of conditions. On November 1 and 2, 2023, Cuba will once again present this resolution at the United Nations. Once again, the United States of America will be left isolated with its genocide policy against the Caribbean island. To give you just an idea, at current prices, the cumulated damage during over 60 years application of this policy amounts to 159 billion 84 million 300,000 USD. Can you imagine? Taking account of the behavior of the dollar in relation to gold in the international market, the quantifiable losses attributable to the blockade have reached 1 trillion 337 billion 57 million USD. For 30 years, Washington have ignored successive resolutions by the United Nations General Assembly. Voices from within United States society and within its own state apparatus, all calling for an end to the blockade. It is an anachronistic policy that ultimately has reserved to discredit an isolated United States of America. Cuba and its people are profoundly grateful for the demonstration of solidarity and support received. We trust in the backing of the international community in our legitimate demand to put an end once for all and without conditions to this unjust, illegal, callous system of unilateral coercive measures. Also, in this context, we would like to denounce the cruel Israeli attack that our Palestinian brothers and sisters are suffering. Cuba expresses its concern about the escalation of violence between Israel and Palestine, a consequence of 75 years of permanent violation of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people and of Israel's aggressive and expansionist policy. Cuba demands a broad, just and lasting solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict based on the creation of two states, which allows the Palestinian people to exercise their right to self-determination and to have an independent and sovereign state within its borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. The world and international organization must end Israel's impunity and the historical complicity of the United States of America, undermining peace, security, and stability in the Middle East and in the world. Cuba is calling for peace and the search for a solution through negotiation that avoid a further escalation of a conflict that has already caused the lives of tens of thousands of people. Long live world peace without sanctions or war. Long live Zimbabwe and Cuba. Long live Palestine. I thank you, Maita Basa Katenda.
That was our comrade Cuba giving us their side of the story, what they've gone through over such a long period, and what Zimbabwe is going through over 2 decades now. I would like now to call upon the President, Dr. Norbert Washington, President of Solidarity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nemachena. He didn't introduce himself. He's the Vice President. Also, I want to welcome and thank all the members here present, our friends from the media. As anti-sanctions lobby groups, you play a very, very big role because we cannot disseminate the information on our own. I think let's give them a round of applause. The members of the diplomatic community, Councillor Salim Siam, who is in for the ambassador, Dr. Tema Al-Masri, and also Councillor Charity Affairs, rather, Mrs. Ford Garcia from the Cuban Embassy. Okay, let me give my solidarity statement and also unpack the petitions that we have handed to Parliament today. It is my singular honor to present to you this message of solidarity on behalf of the Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Trust, ZAST. As we commemorate this year's Anti-Sanctions Day, let me hasten to say, as Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Trust, we applaud the enactment of the anti-sanctions law earlier this year by way of an amendment to the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act. ZAST petitioned the Parliament of Zimbabwe in August 2021 to enact an anti-sanctions law, which came to being earlier this year after due processes were taken for the enactment of the law. So we are quite happy that now it is a very, very serious criminal offense to injure the national interest of our motherland, Zimbabwe. I think, again, we may give ourselves as Zimbabweans a round of applause for that. Because all over the years, people do what they want to injure the national interest of their own country. So now it's a criminal offense. For most of us, Zimbabwe is the only place which we call home. And just as we initiated the enactment of the anti-sanctions law, we are not going to hesitate to initiate processes that will lead to the prosecution of those who injure the national interest of our country. We are going to initiate those processes as soon as possible. Actually, after this day, we have the task, we are citizens, every citizen has to protect their own country. So we are not going to hesitate to initiate those processes. As we have seen the government making strides in engaging and re-engaging under the leadership of His Excellency President E.G. Mnangagwa, we urge every Zimbabwean to play a part in strengthening existing relations, as well as establish more ties with progressive countries. You see the relations that we have with countries like Palestine, Cuba, the People's Republic of China, Iran, India. They are progressive countries. So as citizens, we are saying, let us help to improve those relations. His Excellency the President always emphasizes that a country is built by its own people. Nyika inovakwa nevanhu, ilizwe rakiwa navanikazi vavo. Whereas Zimbabwe pursues friendship with all countries, let me stress that it is critical for Zimbabwean young people to know and appreciate at any given time countries that are in support of Zimbabwe, particularly in adversity of sanctions. Ladies and gentlemen, besides affecting the different sectors of the economy, sanctions have been used by some political players to influence political decisions, particularly amongst the younger generation. This year, we held harmonized elections in cognizance of the invisible hand of illegal sanctions, which however failed to accomplish its mission. Let me take this opportunity to inform you that ZAST presented a petition to Parliament on 29 April 2022, beseeching the House to set up a special anti-sanctions commission, which is to be tasked with, among other things, investigating the misperceptions around the sanctions issue so as to make policy recommendations out of the findings. As the Clerk of Parliament has since confirmed that the petition is admissible, we recently sent you a reminder in writing. And we anticipate that The petition will be expeditiously presented and debated in Parliament soon, and ultimately result in the establishment of the Special Anti-Sanctions Commission. The setting up of the Special Anti-Sanctions Commission will be another milestone for Zimbabwe in the fight against imperialism, which is the ultimate goal of the illegal sanctions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you that after extensive research and consultations with different stakeholders, just today, 25 October 2023, we handed 2 other petitions to Parliament. We are supported in these petitions by at least 9 civic organizations. Some of the civic organizations are represented in this press conference. So with these 2 petitions, we handed them to the Parliament in the morning. They stand there, they confirmed receipt. The first one, the second one. So we are pushing from outside Parliament to influence legislative processes, because it is our right as citizens. So let me go through the first petition and now unpacking the petitions that we headed to Parliament, which have been received today. Petition number 1 is for the establishment of an anti-sanctions law, anti-speculation law. Sorry for that one. We have petitioned Parliament to enact a law which, among other things, criminalizes the deliberate spread of false or incorrect news or information that would cause customers to refrain from buying or to disrupt the supply of goods to markets and thereby cause price rises. Let me give you the background of this petition. In considering enactment of the proposed anti-speculation law, we are beseeching Parliament to take into account the following issues for the enactment of the law. Number 1, there has been a tendency by some Zimbabwean persons to deliberately spread false or incorrect information that causes consumers to refrain from buying. We have evidence to that. So once the law comes into being, we know what we are talking about. They also cause disruption in the supply of goods to markets and thereby causing price increases. Number 2, there has also been a tendency by some Zimbabwean persons to set unreasonably high prices to limit production or sales, or to accumulate goods on the foreign or domestic market to create a deficit on the Zimbabwean market, so that they will resell at an unjustified high price. Those are shenanigans that are used by those who support the impact of sanctions in the country. So we are, as citizens of the country, we are pushing for a law that criminalizes that behavior, to support the amendment that was made to the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act. It is therefore our hope that the 10th Parliament will pass relevant legislation that criminalizes the following: 1, setting unreasonably high prices; 2, unreasonably limiting production or sales; 3, accumulating goods on the foreign or domestic market in order to create a deficit on the Zimbabwean market for the purposes of subsequent release at an unjustified high price. And number 4, deliberately spreading false or incorrect news or information that causes consumers to refrain from buying or disrupt the supply of goods to markets, thereby causing prices to rise. This was the first petition. Petition number 2, which was received today by the the Parliament of Zimbabwe from Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Trust. We are petitioning the Parliament of Zimbabwe for the establishment of a special Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission. We have petitioned Parliament to establish that commission so that it promotes broad-based and equitable economic empowerment of citizens that are or have been marginalized or disadvantaged, and whose access to economic resources and development capacity has been constrained due to various factors such as sex, race, background, status, or disability. Again, on this one, let me give a background. In considering the establishment of a special Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission, we are beseeching Parliament to take into account the following issues. Number one, Zimbabwe is gone for 2 decades under illegal sanctions that were meant to destabilize the economy and ultimately the peace and harmony in the country. Number two, as a country under illegal sanctions, Zimbabwe needs to gear up in fostering citizen participation in economic activity as a sanction busting strategy. Number three, as a country under illegal sanctions, Zimbabwe needs a consultative forum in the form of a special commission to ensure equity, ownership, and control of the means of production by the citizens and to redress these imbalances in the economy. Number four, in the government's endeavor to transform Zimbabwe into a nation where citizens are playing a key role in economic activities with greater participation of targeted citizens, citizen-influenced companies, citizen-empowered companies, and citizen-owned companies. The establishment of the special Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission is vital. Number five, there is need for a special commission which spearheads. This is the same commission that we are beseeching Parliament to establish. It has to spearhead the establishment of special sanction busting production units that should serve as demonstration sites, because there is need to demonstrate that indeed citizens can bust sanctions through producing and exporting to friendly nations. How many products can you produce and export to China? How many products can you produce and export to Palestine? And how many products can you produce and export to Cuba? To mention just but a few. So that has to be spearheaded by a special commission which almost persuades citizens to believe in what we are believing as the Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Trust. Let me conclude this address by saying to the sanction imposing nations, my message to them is that despite their debilitating effects on Zimbabweans, sanctions have presented an opportunity for us to think and not only to think outside the box, but to think even on top of the box. As ZAST, we continue to complement government efforts to further strengthen Zimbabwe's diplomatic ties with our own SADC counterparts, as well as other progressive countries that I have mentioned earlier in my presentation. Zimbabwe is not alone in the fight against imperialism. And Palestine is also not alone in the fight against the genocide. Cuba is also not alone if they fight against the same sanctions from the same forces. So we complement each other and we are in solidarity with our fellow friends. My parting words from this podium, with or without sanctions, I tell you, Zimbabwe will rise again. God bless Zimbabwe. I thank you. Okay, maybe I can save Mr. Nemachena. Let me just take over because we have almost come to the end of our press conference. I'm informed maybe there's one or two media houses that want some interviews with the diplomats. So I think we have come to the end of the program, but those interviews will continue. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much. So, sorry, those from the print media who would want the solidarity statement that I presented, feel free. I give you on MS Word. Thank you. So I will give you.
Good to go, guys? Right, that's fine. Yes, idea. I said, if you could very briefly share with us Zimbabwe and Cuba's relation, especially in light of the anti-sanctions day that have been acknowledged today.
Yes, this is an special day, 25th of October. Every year we commemorate the anti-sanctions day because I think that all the countries around the world that have any kind of sanctions need to be together to face this cruel, illegal, and genocide sanction imposed by, in our case, by United States of America, that we have more than 60 years under these genocide sanctions that the vast majority of the countries around the world call for the lifting of these sanctions. And in the case of our sister nation of Zimbabwe, by the Western countries that we only need to say that we need to be together and to develop our societies despite this kind of sanctions. For that reason, Cuba and Zimbabwe are strengthening our relationships and diversify the sectors of cooperation. In health sectors, educational sectors, and we are exploring in biotech pharmaceutical cooperation. Uh, Never is very late to be together and to be united to face the the same adversary. So for us, this is an special experience to be here in Zimbabwe and attend this kind of commemorations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Right. Era Palestine. Mr. Roche. Comrade Roche. Doc. Oh, Palestine. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Now we are detailed. Palestine ambassador. Yeah, cover it, please. Yeah, vachauya futi. Yeah, but ngatite vakuru vacho kuti ndikuti kakawanda. Ila peo ndiani? Alright, bo.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Please, do you have a card by any chance? Just so I can make sure that I put your right information. This is the one?
This is my last, I think.
So this is the one signed
Yes,
itself?
yes.
That's it. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, we're good to go. Cool. Just all good. All right. Very briefly, if you could share with us the significance of the relationship between Zimbabwe and Palestine in commemorating anti-sanctions day.
We support our brothers in Zimbabwe, comrades and friends, the government and people of Zimbabwe in their drive to remove these illegal sanctions because we, as Palestinian people, are facing the same difficulties and the same attack from the same people who are conducting these illegal sanctions against Zimbabwe. Today, our people are facing a genocide committed by Israel, who is supported by the same colonial powers who are supporting the illegal sanctions against Zimbabwe. So we actually are friends even before this, and we will continue the struggle to achieve our economical aspirations and even our economical and development of our two countries. We cannot give up our people's dreams and aspirations, which these sanctions and illegal occupation, apartheid occupation in Palestine, to hinder our people from development and in our case, to get our independence and sovereignty, in Zimbabwean case, to get their economical freedom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Osho. How you do together? But at least light yanzi mayo pakati well akasiri muri mayo right. Top notch. Thank you. What would I mistake?